I'm going to release my game, Project Torrim, by the end of March. With that being so soon, you'd expect the game to be in a pretty solid state, which in some ways it is, but I have to make some pretty big changes to the collision engine, which feels incredibly risky. Making such change to the core of the engine at such a late stage is terrifying, but if it works out well, the game will be able to achieve its true potential, and any future game made in the engine will also be able to benefit from this too. So fingers crossed it turns out well. How's it going everybody, I'm Lewis, also known as Scaffles, and welcome to the 40th devlog for Project Torrim, my Iron Age fantasy tower defense game. Let's just take a moment to reflect upon that number. 40 is a huge number of devlogs. I remember being amazed at 7 devlogs and thinking it would be impossible for the game to go beyond 30. Now I'm hitting the 40th devlog and I expect at least 4 more. Thank you to everybody that's shown support for the videos and subscribed to my channel for the journey. And if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to follow along with the last few devlogs for the game. Last week I worked on mobile input, which is almost fully working. The only remaining issue is a dead click, or I suppose because it's mobile, dead tap. It's a really irritating issue and one I need to fix before releasing the game. At the start of this week I investigated the dead click issue, and I suspect it's caused by some hard to replicate issues I've noticed in the collision system. As such, I've decided to bring up the plans to improve the collision engine, as it requires quite a large rewrite, and I'd rather worry about fixing issues in the new system over fixing them in the old. So what's the plan for improving the collision system? I'm planning on implementing quadtrees, which was suggested by James Heisman in Devlog 37. Quadtrees are a data structure in which objects are stored based on their location, which should make collision checks a lot easier. I'm going to be working on my own implementation because this is exactly the nitty-gritty stuff that I love about game development. To help me develop this, I've got some bullet points set out in Trello, so I'm going to get started on this and I'll catch up with you at the end of the week. It's come to the end of my development week and progress on the quadtree is looking great. To help visualise the tree, I actually began a new project. When I click on the screen, a point is added to the tree, and as I keep adding more points, you'll see quads start to form. I can then query the tree to highlight which points are in the square near the mouse. I plan on going into full detail once the collision system is complete, but an overview of this quadtree is that when there are more than 2 points in a quad, the quad will split into 4 smaller quads. If there are still 2 points in any new quad, the quads will continue to split until there is 1 point per quad. This looks pretty cool, but you might be wondering how exactly this helps reduce the amount of checks the collision system has to do. The big benefit is, instead of looping through each object to check if it's colliding, you can query the tree from a top-down perspective to return the results you want. This takes the number of checks the system does from the number of objects squared, or ON squared, to the log of the objects, or ON log n. This is much easier to see in a graph, where the blue line for the system with the quadtree is significantly less steep than the red for the looping system. This means a quadtree system can handle significantly more objects than a looping system. This almost brings my week to an end, but before I get into my plans for next week, I want to mention last week's Twitch stream went really well, and I'll be streaming once again this week for 2 hours after this devlog has aired. So that's 2:15 GMT, pop in and say hi if you can. I'll be trying out Planet Zoo, which I've never played before, so it should be fun. I am really pleased with this week's progress. I'm having fun playing about with the quadtree itself, and next week I plan on expanding the tree to include areas and not just points, which I should then be able to utilise in my collision system. I also hope I'll be able to spend some time to really explain all the details behind quadtrees. They are really fascinating, and whilst there are some great videos about either quadtrees or their implementation, I actually struggle to find a good video on both. If that interests you, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get notified when that video is released. I hope you've enjoyed watching this devlog for quadtrees, I mean Project Torrim. Leave the video a like to let me know you did, and comment to leave me any feedback. I really appreciate everything that's said, and I even implement your ideas like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.